A long, long time ago, the Egyptians believed their pharaohs weren't just kings. They were actual gods. These god kings ruled everything, the land, the people, even life and death. When a pharaoh died, it wasn't the end. It was like moving to a fancy new house, the afterlife, a place of awesome power and never-ending parties. To get ready for this big trip, they built huge tombs filled with treasures, snacks, and magic spells for protection. But these tombs weren't just for sleeping. They were power centers full of ancient magic and spooky curses. For hundreds of years, stories about these curses have scared even the bravest explorers and treasure hunters. The curse of the Pharaohs, as it became known, promised a bad end to anyone who woke up a sleeping pharaoh. Stories of sudden sickness, weird accidents, and even ghosts have been linked to the tombs. It's like ancient magic messing with the modern world. But are these curses real? Are they actual magic, or just scary stories made up by people who are afraid of the dark? In this video, we'll explore the curse of the Pharaohs, looking at where it came from, who it supposedly hurt, and trying to figure out what's true and what's not. To understand the Pharaoh's curse, we need to understand the Pharaohs. In ancient Egypt, the Pharaoh wasn't just a king. He was a god, like a walking, talking version of the god Horus. He had all the power. The Pharaoh was in charge of keeping everything in balance, making sure life, death, and everything in between went smoothly. When he died, his spirit went to the afterlife to hang out with the other gods. But this trip was dangerous, so his tomb was like a gateway to the afterlife and a super strong fort to protect him from bad guys. The tombs were decorated with pictures and stories, like a guidebook and a shield for the dead pharaoh. The Egyptians believed the pharaoh's power stayed strong even after he died, and he could still do things in the world of the living. So, messing with a pharaoh's tomb wasn't just disrespectful, it was dangerous. It could make the pharaoh's ghost angry and bring bad luck. Pharaoh's tombs weren't just simple graves, they were huge, complicated buildings meant to protect the pharaoh's body and help him get to the afterlife. The most famous are the pyramids, those giant triangles of rock you still see today. Inside, there are mazes of hallways, rooms, and secret passages to stop grave robbers. But pyramids weren't the only kind of tomb. Pharaohs were also buried in tombs carved into cliffs like the ones in the Valley of the Kings. These were just as fancy, decorated with carvings, paintings, and hieroglyphs telling stories about the pharaoh and the Egyptian gods. To keep the pharaoh's body safe, they used mummification, which kept the body from rotting. The mummy was then put inside a bunch of coffins, sometimes made of gold and covered in jewels. These coffins went inside a sarcophagus, a big stone box that was like the pharaoh's final bed. In 1922, Howard Carter, a British explorer, found King Tut's tomb. This is probably the most famous and mysterious discovery in Egyptian history. Tut wasn't a very important pharaoh. He didn't rule for very long, but his tomb was untouched by robbers and perfectly preserved. It showed everyone how rich and amazing ancient Egypt really was. Carter and his team were shocked by what they found. The first room was full of golden chariots, furniture, weapons and other treasures, all in perfect shape after over 3,000 years. Further inside was the burial chamber, where Tut's sarcophagus, inside a bunch of golden boxes, was waiting to be found. Finding Tut's tomb was big news, and everyone got excited about ancient Egypt. But there was something scary too, the curse of the Pharaohs. Section 5. The curse strikes a series of unfortunate events. Soon after Tut's tomb was found, weird and bad things started happening to Carter's team. Lord Carnarvon, the rich guy who paid for the whole thing, died suddenly in Cairo just weeks after going into the tomb. They said it was from a mosquito bite, but people whispered it was the curse. In the years after, other people on Carter's team also died. George J. Gould, a rich American who visited the tomb, died soon after getting a fever. A.C. Mace, one of Carter's diggers, died from poison, and Carter's secretary, Richard Bethel, was found dead in his bed. Nobody knows why. Some people said these were just coincidences, but others said it was the Pharaoh's curse. The story of the curse became bigger and scarier, helped by newspapers and people who love spooky stories. Section 6. Science versus superstition, unraveling the enigma. Is the Pharaoh's curse real, or is it just a spooky story? People have argued about this for a long time. Some say the deaths were just from normal things like sickness, accidents, or maybe even murder. They point out that old tombs are full of germs that can make you sick. But others say the way people died, and when they died, was too weird to be a coincidence. They think the curse is like a bad energy or ancient magic that can travel through time. There's no real proof of a curse, but people still talk about it. We like mysteries, and we want to believe in things we can't explain. Section 7. The power of belief. Curses across cultures. The Pharaoh's curse isn't the only curse story. All over the world, people have stories about curses. From the curse in the Bible to the curse of the Hope Diamond, these stories play on our fears and superstitions. Curses are often like warnings, telling people not to be greedy, disrespectful, or mess with things they shouldn't. They can also make us feel like there's a reason for bad things that happen, even if it doesn't make sense. Whether we believe in curses or not, they're interesting, and they show us how powerful our beliefs can be, and how much we want to understand the things we don't know. Section 8. The enduring allure of the Pharaoh's curse. Even without proof, the Pharaoh's curse is still a great story. The story of Tuts Tomb and the bad luck that followed has been told in books, movies, and TV shows. The curse is so interesting because it plays on our fears and what we want to believe. It makes us think about the ancient world, death, the afterlife, and maybe powers we don't understand. The curse of the Pharaohs reminds us that some mysteries are better left alone and some doors are better left closed. Section 9. Conclusion. A legacy of wonder and terror. The Curse of the Pharaohs is a story that's been told for a long time. It's a mix of history, legend, and spooky stories that we still find interesting and scary. Whether it's real or not, the curse shows us how strong beliefs can be and how amazing ancient Egypt was. The Pharaohs' tombs, with their carvings, treasures, and whispered curses, show us a world very different from ours. They remind us how smart, artistic, and spiritual the ancient Egyptians were thousands of years ago. We may never know if the Pharaoh's curse is real, but the story will live on, making us wonder about the mysteries of the past. The desert may have buried the Pharaohs and their secrets, but their stories are still here, showing how curious we are and how much we want to understand the unknown.